You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Cloud Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Deployment models define how cloud infrastructure is provisioned, accessed, and maintained. These models categorize the cloud environment based on ownership, control, and usage boundaries. In the Cloud Plus exam, questions about deployment models assess a candidate's ability to distinguish between environments that are shared, dedicated, or mixed in structure. The model selected influences all subsequent architectural decisions, including security, integration, scalability, and compliance posture. Understanding the differences between deployment models forms a core requirement in Domain 1. Each deployment model describes a specific pattern of cloud consumption. The public cloud model makes infrastructure available over the internet to multiple customers who share the underlying physical resources. The private model dedicates infrastructure to one organization, maintaining full control. Hybrid models link two or more environments to operate as one logical system. Community clouds offer shared infrastructure to groups with common goals or compliance requirements. The exam may present descriptions of each and ask candidates to identify or contrast them based on design needs. The public cloud model is the most common and widely deployed configuration. In this model, services are offered to customers over the internet by third-party providers. While the infrastructure is shared among multiple users, each tenant operates in a logically isolated environment. Access to public cloud services is typically self-service and billed on consumption. This model emphasizes rapid scalability, ease of access, and cost efficiency, making it popular for startups, test environments, or dynamic workloads where resource demand fluctuates. Public cloud architecture supports multi-tenancy, with tenant isolation enforced by virtualization technologies and access controls. Because the customer does not own the infrastructure, there is limited visibility into the physical layer. This model favors elasticity and simplicity over granular control. It allows organizations to reduce capital expenditure and shift to an operational expense model. Cloud Plus exam questions may describe these characteristics and ask candidates to identify public cloud as the appropriate model for cost-sensitive or scalable applications. Although the public cloud is efficient and scalable, it presents limitations in areas where control, customization, or regulatory oversight are required. Organizations relying on strict data residency requirements or handling sensitive information may find public models inadequate. The lack of administrative access to hardware and potential performance variability due to shared resource pools are notable concerns. The exam may frame trade-off questions where public cloud suitability must be weighed against organizational priorities, like compliance or system tuning. The private cloud model offers an alternative for environments that require dedicated control. Infrastructure in a private cloud is reserved for use by a single organization. This model supports higher levels of customization, security enforcement, and internal governance. Private cloud environments may be hosted on-premises or outsourced to a provider who manages the infrastructure on behalf of the customer. Either way, the key distinction lies in exclusivity of resource use and ownership of the configuration. In Cloud Plus exam questions, private cloud may be presented in scenarios involving confidential data, regulated workloads, or specific architectural controls. Private models are preferred where policy requires full infrastructure auditability or where the performance profile must be tightly controlled. While offering better isolation and compliance alignment, private clouds generally introduce higher cost and operational complexity. Maintaining hardware, managing updates, and ensuring availability fall more directly on the customer or delegated support provider. The hybrid cloud model connects two or more distinct cloud environments, typically private and public, allowing data and applications to move seamlessly between them. This configuration supports a flexible infrastructure strategy, where organizations keep sensitive data in private environments while using public cloud for elastic scaling. Hybrid models are common in enterprise environments transitioning to cloud or in cases where workloads require staged deployment across trust zones. Cloud plus exam items involving hybrid cloud frequently reference scenarios like failover routing, workload migration, or resource bursting. These situations demand that the candidate recognize architectural patterns that involve workload portability or API consistency. Integration between private and public components must be reliable, secure, and capable of managing latency or synchronization issues. Successful design of a hybrid cloud also depends on matching the right services to the appropriate environment based on risk, performance, and lifecycle phase. Architectural decisions within hybrid cloud deployments include determining where data should reside, which services should be duplicated, and how to maintain service availability if one component fails. Candidates may encounter questions about placing storage in private cloud while compute resources scale in public cloud, or about latency implications when services interact across environments. Hybrid designs raise considerations about routing, encryption, policy enforcement, and orchestration, all of which may be included in exam content. Community cloud is a less frequently discussed model, but remains important in cooperative or regulated industries. This model provides shared infrastructure to a group of organizations with common needs. Examples include research consortiums, government departments, or industry alliances that require consistent policy enforcement or cost sharing. Community clouds are often managed jointly, with responsibilities shared between participants or outsourced to a provider that enforces a mutually defined governance structure. Community cloud environments provide alignment in terms of security policies, operational standards, or compliance goals. For the exam, candidates should recognize this model as one that blends aspects of private and public cloud shared access within a trusted group, with infrastructure not generally open to the public. While offering cost efficiency through pooling, this model introduces complexity in coordination, change management, and policy enforcement. Questions may highlight these trade-offs or ask which model is best for multi-organization collaboration with shared compliance goals. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Selecting a deployment model requires consideration of multiple technical and business factors. Budget limitations, regulatory frameworks, expected workload behavior, and required levels of control all influence which deployment approach is appropriate. In Cloud Plus exam scenarios, candidates may be asked to identify the best fit deployment model based on a described use case. These scenarios might include keywords related to compliance, user demand, performance variability, or financial constraints. The decision-making process must consider more than just technology. Organizational goals and restrictions are always part of the equation. Virtualization is a core enabler of all deployment models. It provides the abstraction layer that separates users and workloads from physical hardware. In public cloud environments, virtualization is used to isolate tenants and enforce security between customers. In private cloud models, the same virtualization tools are used to partition resources within an organization. Understanding how virtualization shapes access control and workload distribution is central to deployment model design. The Cloud Plus exam expects candidates to interpret virtualization as a foundational technology, not just a configuration tool. Service models operate independently from deployment models, meaning that infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service can each be implemented within any deployment configuration. A public cloud can deliver IaaS through virtual machines, while a private cloud may offer internal PaaS tools for development teams. The exam may present combinations of service and deployment models and require analysis of their interactions. Understanding how service delivery changes depending on the underlying infrastructure environment is necessary for accurate model identification. Different deployment models introduce different types of risk. Public cloud models carry a greater focus on identity access control, secure data transport, and isolation enforcement, since infrastructure is shared among unknown tenants. Private clouds shift the burden toward internal governance, secure system configurations, and resource over-provisioning. Hybrid and community models introduce risk in the form of data synchronization failures, inconsistent policy enforcement, and management complexity. Questions on the exam may reference which risks are most relevant under specific deployment conditions. The terminology used in exam questions may vary, even when referring to the same deployment model. Public clouds may be described as shared or multi-tenant environments. Private clouds may be described as dedicated, internally hosted, or exclusive. Hybrid models may be referenced using terms like split workloads, federated services, or distributed resource pools. Candidates must be able to map varying terminology back to the 4 primary deployment models. Vocabulary mastery and recognition of context-specific phrasing is essential for responding accurately. Mistakes in identifying deployment models often stem from assumptions rather than analysis. Seeing the term cloud provider in a question does not automatically indicate a public deployment model. A provider may be delivering private infrastructure to a single customer. Similarly, if a service is hosted off-site, it does not guarantee that the environment is public. Scenario questions on the Cloud Plus exam require candidates to read carefully and isolate facts that point to access control, ownership, or multi-organization structure. Many exam questions compare the 4 deployment models and ask the candidate to select the best match for a given use case. Public cloud is best for elastic scalability and low upfront cost. Private cloud supports controlled, secure deployments for sensitive workloads. Hybrid cloud accommodates staged migrations, on-demand bursting, and redundant system availability. Community cloud provides shared services for a defined group with aligned governance. These distinctions are not just memorized. They must be applied in practical, context-based judgment under exam conditions. In certain scenarios, the boundaries between models may appear blurred. A private cloud hosted by a third party could seem like a public model unless ownership and tenant exclusivity are clarified. Hybrid configurations may behave like public systems if access is unrestricted and data synchronization is delayed. Community cloud environments can resemble public clouds unless governance and policy alignment are explicitly described. The ability to distinguish these subtleties is often tested in advanced exam items where nuanced understanding is required. Deployment models also influence the overall cost structure of a cloud solution. Public cloud costs are typically based on metered usage, offering flexibility but potential unpredictability. Private clouds demand upfront investment and long-term maintenance, resulting in higher fixed costs but greater long-term control. Hybrid models may include both cost structures simultaneously, introducing budget planning complexity. Community models involve shared expenses, but coordination of budgeting across multiple organizations can introduce administrative overhead. Understanding cost implications supports both model identification and recommendation. The selection of a deployment model has downstream effects on system monitoring, alerting, and lifecycle management. Public clouds often require external integration tools for monitoring. Private clouds support internal visibility but demand more manual configuration. Hybrid environments require centralized management tools that work across boundaries, while community clouds need governance frameworks for shared monitoring responsibilities. The Cloud Plus exam may present questions that involve selecting deployment models based not only on workload characteristics, but also on operational support requirements. Service-level agreements are enforced differently depending on the deployment model. In public clouds, the SLA is defined by the provider and applies uniformly to all tenants. In private clouds, the SLA may be created internally and adjusted to match organizational goals. Hybrid environments often require SLA coordination between internal and external parties. Community clouds must agree on shared expectations and enforcement mechanisms. Understanding how SLAs apply to each deployment model helps candidates align architecture decisions with business expectations in scenario questions. Policy enforcement complexity increases as deployment models grow more distributed. A private cloud might only require one set of firewall rules and access policies. A hybrid cloud introduces the need for synchronized policy enforcement across on-premises and hosted environments. Community clouds require coordination across administrative domains. Policy enforcement gaps in hybrid or community models can lead to inconsistent behavior, security vulnerabilities, or access issues. Questions on the exam may assess your ability to identify and prevent policy fragmentation across models. The structure and behavior of deployment models prepare candidates for more advanced architectural topics. As environments grow more complex, models such as multi-cloud and nested clouds build upon the foundational concepts of public, private, hybrid, and community design. These advanced models involve distributing services across different providers or embedding isolated environments within broader frameworks. A solid understanding of traditional deployment models enables clear reasoning as cloud architecture evolves into more segmented and flexible patterns. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.